Hello, Riley friends, and welcome back to Max Talks About Writing Advice. Today, I'm going to be answering a question that is pretty closely related to our mini-series on character advice. We're going to be talking about the idea of having a large cast of characters. Before I go anywhere, though, allow me to give you the formal disclaimer and remind you that the following is merely my advice, my opinion, and what worked for me. Don't take it as gospel, instead take it as my particular point of view on this issue. With that being said, allow me to explain to you the way this video came to be. One of my longtime followers, Natch Evil, sent me a question that went along the lines of something like this. Do you have any tips on writing a story that will have lots of characters? In his question, he poses a situation of having a cast like that of an anime like Bleach or Anime 1/2 with like 30 plus characters who are of course integral and meaningful to the story. Now, do I have tips for this? Hell yeah, I do, so let's dive right in! Now, my first tip is actually directly related to the question Natch was asking me about, and it deals with the idea of introducing this enormous cast of characters. My first tip is little by little. I have found in my experience that when you have a large cast of characters, it is better to introduce them little by little than just dropping them on your reader's lap. Seriously, I think it's way more effective when you have the characters being slowly introduced. Have them in the background. Let the reader actually guess what they're about, what are they here for, what side they stand on. Introduce them not super early on, but, with enough time so the reader can realize, okay, you're definitely important to this story. This is actually something that anime, nails, is the idea of having this large cast of characters and they slowly introduce each and every single one of them. I mean, imagine in Bleach if they had just dropped the Gote 13 and told you all of their backstories in the same episode. It would have been ridiculous. And it would have taken away from the fun of actually discovering each of these characters one by one. My trick is this, okay, when it comes to introducing a large group of characters. Doing it little by little really does help. Because, I mean, when you get down to it, all book series have a lot of characters. Like 30 plus characters doesn't seem like a lot when you consider books like The Lord of the Rings or Game of Thrones. Ultimately, you end up with a lot of people because stories grow in scope. So personally, I think that guiding the reader, introducing people one at a time or a group at a time and giving them hints is way better than just, let me tell you about these 13 characters who are integral to the story. Now, I know that some people don't like this, and I get that some people disagree with the idea of holding the hand of your reader, and I disagree to that, because I feel that holding the hand of your reader is better, in my opinion, than putting them on the peril of being confused and just thrown out of your story. So yeah, I agree with you, Natch. Introducing your characters one at a time is actually a way better way to go about doing things. It just gives your reader time to familiarize themselves with people. Talking about familiarizing themselves with the characters, let's talk about tip number 2. Relationships and setting the stage. One of my favorite things when it comes to having a large cast of characters is the idea of introducing them little by little, and not by just, hello, here's the first character of a group of 13 people, and you'll get to know them first. It's more like leaving little hints, letting the reader get the clues, and, the more astute readers will piece it together before they actually meet the person, and the rest of the readers will get to meet them in time. One of the things that I love to do is relationships. Just because we won't meet this character for, another 3 chapters doesn't mean we can't learn about them already. I mean, your characters have a past. Their life didn't begin on page 1. They had an entire lifetime, and there's people they know, and they have relationships with these people, and they have particular feelings about the people they know, and those can be the characters that you will be introducing later. This, of course, can be as easy as dropping a name here and there. Simple as that. Other than that, though, I actually recommend showing the effects of a relationship. For example, a really good instance of this is the idea of a character showing the effects of having grown up with a really aggressive father, and then you later on meeting that father. It gives the reader a basis, setting the stage for the person they're going to be meeting later on. Now, does this mean that everyone in your story, all of your 30 characters, know each other and have a past? Not really. I mean, I know some people don't like that as well, I totally get that, but I mean, have you lived in a small town? Everyone knows each other eventually. Now, there is a point I need to make right now. Let's say, for instance, that you have a character who doesn't know the main cast. There's a character you want to introduce who's not related to anybody. They're basically an outsider. How do you set up the stage? Well, just because this character doesn't have a past, it doesn't mean they can't have a future with your characters. Seriously, I mean, just because your characters don't have, years of experience with this new outsider, it doesn't mean they can't just start making experience with them right now. It's a simple matter of having this character in the background, or having your characters bump into this person and start building a relationship, whether it is positive or negative. Again, I think that character relationships is one of the best ways of setting the stage for introducing a character. I think that, at least for me, I make a bigger emotional attachment when I know how a character feels about someone else than just having this character being dropped on my lap. And there's one last tip I have to give you, and this is like the biggest max tip that I have. It is absolutely all about me, and I'm gonna tell you what I love about having a large cast of characters, okay? Focus on the people. Even if your story is about saving the world, I think that with a cast that big, you should still focus on the people. People who are trying to save the world. I think that the power of having an enormous cast is the ability of seeing people being people. The good things about people, like companionship and affection and love, and the best things about people, which is envy and drama and jealousy. To me, that makes characters more than just characters. It makes them people when you realize that, like in real life, not all of your characters are gonna get along together. Even if they're in the same mission to achieve the same goal, it's entirely likely that they're not gonna get along, and that's fun. Now, I need to make this point right now, okay? Some people hear that piece of advice, and they reply with things like, "So you're basically telling me, Max, to write a soap opera." And let me tell you this right now, okay? Game of Thrones is a telenovela. It's about all the awful sides of the human nature. Anger, power, greed, envy, jealousy, and that is what makes it so effective, because it's about people being people who happen to be in a fantasy world. That is why, I don't know about you, and I've talked about this in the past, but for me, stories are about characters and about the people that live in that world, because that's what makes it for me. That's what I relate to, that's what I go out looking for, and if I have to give you a piece of advice is focus on the people. Now, to summarize my points, my 3 tips for writing a large cast of characters go a little bit like this. 1. Introduce them little by little. 2. Show the characters' relationships to one another as a way to set the stage for their introduction. And 3. Focus on people. Let them be awful people. Let them hate each other, love each other, and see what happens. I hope that helps, Natch, and the rest of you wonderful people out there. If you have any sort of comments or ideas or anything else you would like to add for yourself, or any more questions you want to send my way, feel free to leave them in the comments below. As always, like, subscribe, do all of the socially related things, and if you would like even more writing advice, head over to my official writing blog over at maxgirin.tumblr.com. There's tons of links below. Go check them out. I have tons of content out there, so go and enjoy it. With all of that said, I want to thank you for watching, thank you for spending a little bit of your day with me, and hope to be seeing you soon. Mwah! Hello there, I didn't see you there. Welcome back to Max's editorials. Today I want to talk about something very quickly. I'll probably make a whole video about this later, but I want to talk about this right now, okay? Because I gotta fix my chair. There's a couple of things I want to talk about. And it deals with the idea of stealing other people's ideas, because it's really silly. So, let me just make this very clear right now. I think that, we live in a mixed culture. Like, nobody exists in a vacuum. So the basic idea of, looking at somebody else's work and saying, hey, I like this element and I like this element. Maybe I could take those for my story. I don't actually think there is anything wrong with that. What I do think is ineffective, because this is not about right or wrong, I think it's ineffective to take an element and just drop it in your story because you think it's going to make you as successful as that other person. I don't think that's the way to go about doing things. As I've always said, most writing problems, and well, a lot of life problems are about theory. If you want to take something from someone else, don't take what they did, examine what they did, break it down, and actually inspect why was it effective. I think the Hunger Games were effective not because it was about putting teenagers against teenagers and get them to kill each other. It was because it made death a commodity. It made death, and it put it in the forefront. In other stories, death was kind of part of the ultimate climax of the 7th book of a 7-book series. It's what you get at the very end. In the Hunger Games, though, death was part of the story. It was part of the progression. You needed to kill everyone along the way to make it to the top. So again, I'll probably make a whole video about this later, but it's the idea of if you want to steal someone else's ideas, don't steal their ideas, steal their techniques. The same way that Natch, mentioned in the question that, he wanted to have a huge cast of characters, such as the ones from anime like Ranma One Half, which I love, and Bleach, which I enjoyed. And I thought, well, how did those guys do it? You introduce people little by little. Simple as that. Is that stealing from them? I don't think so. It's stealing techniques. It's like, if you want to do something like someone else, look at their methods. Not exactly what they put out, but the way they went about doing things. I don't think there's any shame in that. We live in a craft, and we're all craftsmen, and if you see somebody who's doing something a lot more effectively than you are, I don't think there's any shame in going, hey, you know what? I should try doing things like you're doing. Not doing what you're doing, but attempt to do things the same way you're doing things. I don't think there's any shame in that. It's all about theory. And again, it is through breaking down the medium and examining it and moving forward through theory that actually the medium can actually grow and evolve and become better. Do I think that you should go into every story with a theory and a system and theory crafting your way through a plot? No, absolutely not. I don't do it. But sometimes I find that breaking down ideas and concepts can lead to a very interesting story idea or a very good concept. And ultimately, this is all just merely for inspiration. I have never personally gone into a story with a piece of theory. I am going to break down the Hunger Games and recreate it with my own image. No, not really. I jump into stories because they're fun, but I do like looking at storytelling and analyzing it. That is the whole reason why I'm doing my Let's Play series, because I'm just sitting down and analyzing storytelling through a video game. And I think there is something to say about the idea of inspecting storytelling. It is like exercising another part of the writerly brain, looking at storytelling and analyzing, why was it effective? Why was it good? Because just saying it's good or I like it says nothing. Instead, consider this, Max's writerly assignment for the day. If you're going to be watching a movie today or reading a book or something, stop and analyze why you liked it or why you didn't like it. I think that stopping and sitting down to analyze our feelings is actually a really effective way of realizing what worked and what didn't. But yeah, there you go. I'll probably make a whole video about this later, but there you go. If you ever look at somebody who's doing something and you want to do things like them, don't do what they're doing. Look at their methods, their techniques, and their theory, and attempt to learn, understand, absorb, and create a technique, a theory that works just for you. I hope that helps.